In today's episode of the Motorhome Matt podcast,
we're back with a full Q&A where we answer your questions on
campsite check-in times, best TV setups, extended warranty schemes and the oldest ideal campervan conversions and more. Welcome to the Motorhome Matt podcast. I'm Keith Gooden.
And I'm Motorhome Matt.
Industry insights and expert advice for the world of motorhomes, caravans and campervans, brought to you by thatleisureshop.com and sponsored by Ride.
Now remember, please do follow on your favourite podcast app, or if you're watching on YouTube, click subscribe and the little bell.
It's new. There's a new model come through. It's been updated. It's been upgraded. It is the Pathway 4G. Tell us about it, please, Matt.
The Gen 2 is imminent. It's been available to purchase on a pre-order because it's not here yet. It's arriving in a couple of weeks' time and will be here at the end of July. And pre-orders are flying. So you can get yours with £30 off. So they are normally going to be $249.99. On a pre-order, they are just £220, and you can guarantee getting yours ready for this summer at the end of this month. So head to thatleisureshop.com and register there.
Now, the original Pathway was fantastic, still is, but you've upgraded this a little bit. What have you done?
We have, yeah. So we've got different aerials on it. They look the same, but they're actually more powerful. So it's capable of picking up a signal from even further away. This is always one of the big compliments the unit got, was its ability to pick up a cellular signal. It's got a new circuit board inside. We call it a chipset. So it works brilliantly going in and out of Europe without having to change any settings. And you can power it from a portable power pack because it's USB-C. It's 5 volt, so much lower voltage, and you can power it from your portable power pack. New instruction book as well, with a few things explained in a bit more detail, but still really simple, and still the same great team behind it at That Leisure Shop, wherever you bought it, in fact, because it's starting to pop up in shops around the UK. So yeah, thatleisureshop.com to go and register for your pre-order purchase.
Our show feature of the week is the Norfolk Motorhome and Campervan Show. Starts this week, 17th to the 19th of July at the Norfolk Showground. You can camp for the weekend or visit for the day.
Yeah, it's £94.50 per pitch, and that includes a family, 2 adults, 3 kids and the dog, or it's £10 for a day ticket, or there's a discount on the day tickets, just £8 when you use the code Motorhome Matt and if you pre-book. You can get your tickets and find out more about all of Warner's shows. They really are fantastic at mhmp.info/Warners.
It's the Motorhome Matt podcast with me, Keith Gooden.
And me, Motorhome Matt.
This episode is questions and answers all the way through, the Q&A, probably the most popular part of the podcast over the years, and we have been going 4 years, haven't we, Matt?
Well, this is our 5th year now, yeah. 4.5 years.
Unbelievable, isn't it?
Yeah.
First of all then, in this one, Daryl Carter is in Chichester.
Hi Matt, it's Daryl from Chichester again with my second question. Having to be a newbie on motorhoming, I went to Durdledore this weekend for probably one of my first major trips to a campsite. Wasn't allowed access till 2 o'clock, although everybody else was kicked off at 11 in the morning. Tried to work out in my head why this is, because it's not like a hotel where they've got to make beds or clean a bathroom. And the only thing I could come up with was the fact that arriving at 2 means you're not really set up on your pitch till probably after 2, 3 o'clock. And then you can't really do the activity you want to do in that area. So the next day will be the activity that you plan to do, which then means you have to stay a second night. You talk about the industry innovating and changing, and I believe that this is, unless you can tell me different, a bit of a scam where people are made to stay 2 nights rather than 1. But the upshot from my early days would be that I would now find a local car park, pay the day rate, go and do my activity wherever that is, and then toot off to find somewhere to wild camp that night, a lay-by or park up somewhere, or even go for a pub stop and get a nice meal. So I really think campsites should be looking at whether they change their arrival times. Everybody leaves by 11 and you can arrive by 11:30. Thanks in advance, and I hope you can shed some light on this. And again, it's Daryl from Chichester. Thank you.
Cheers, Daryl. Much obliged for the question. Scam's a bit of a strong word.
I was going to say, there's a bit of assertive language going on there. I certainly don't think this is a scam, but I understand your frustration. I asked 2 Motorhome Matt approved campsites for their comment. The first was Jules at Patruth Paddocks in Cheddar, who responded by saying,
he absolutely has a point, and this is the practice with most of the more formal sites. Currently, our departure time for powered pitches is noon, and our arrival time is 2 p.m. The reason for this has been the time needed to reset and add credit to each of our 80 hookups.
We are happy for all of our guests to arrive early, park in our visitors' car park, complete their activity and check in later. And we have deliberately retained our large parking area for this purpose. However, many sites have turned these into pitches to increase revenue and therefore restrict arrival.
He says, hope that helps. And John Marshall at Riverside Caravan Park in High Bentham commented, we need to time manage mowing the grass and landscaping the pitches. Then time to clean the toilet block, give staff a lunch break, and we try to space out the arrival of guests so everything doesn't happen at once. We do offer an 11 a.m. check out and 1 p.m. check-in. In practice, we often get people turning up early to check in, only about 30 minutes-ish. Thanks, Daryl, for your question. Ring ahead and see what the campsite can offer you.
Yeah, that would be my advice too. So thanks for the point. It's a valid one, but you can see that there aren't beds to change, sure, but campsites do have quite a bit of work to do to get ready for the next guest. But there is an option, it would seem, that you can arrive early and park up in their car park.
Margaret Lowry is in Seaham. Hi, Matt. A few questions for you. A few. We're purchasing a camper van and was looking at the best setup for TV and Wi-Fi, and it's a minefield. Is the new Cello Voyager TV as good as it sounds? Do you have any feedback on that yet? We aren't looking for work connectivity. It's purely for entertainment, such as smart TV running on 240 and 12 volt. We prefer not to drill fitting antennas, etc. Thanks very much.
Yeah, I've seen it and it looks good. This is a television with a built-in 5G router. I've not actually tried one in person, but I'm waiting for a response from Cello on this, as I'd love to test one. We took our TV out of the van and now we use a laptop and our Pathway 4G. But what Cello are offering is a television with a built-in router, and I'm assuming you have to put a SIM into it. So I will give a review of it, and it may be that we start selling this product in that leisure shop. So stay tuned.
Martin Williams is in Cardiff. Hi, Matt and team. I recently took delivery of a new Adria with a Fiat Ducato. I was hoping to take out the extended warranty. I was told that the 5-year warranty scheme you could buy has been stopped.
That's right, yeah. This is the warranty from Fiat. So an Adria is a European Fiat Ducato chassis, and like all European motorhomes, it only comes with 2 years of Fiat cover. A British-built chassis comes with 3 years. I've never known why. I've asked and never had an answer. But that's been the reality. It was also the case that if within a certain amount of time, within I think it was a couple of weeks, of taking ownership, you could extend that warranty at a significant cost, it's about 1,500 quid, and make that warranty last for 5 years from new. But that ability to extend has been revoked. So you are quite correct. I did ask Adria for comment on this because the UK team this week, as we record this, are all in Slovenia for the Adria trade launch. And one of the team was going to go and speak to senior people at Stellantis who own Fiat and at Adria, because there's conversation about reintroducing it, and I wanted to find out what is happening and when. I'm awaiting this feedback, but we will include this in a future episode. So again, stay tuned.
It's time for our motorhome and campervan confession, brought to you with our sponsor, Ribe. So, Mark, is that the same Mark from Dire Straits, I wonder? Well, anyway, he said, I tried doing a full English in our van to cheer everyone up on a rainy trip away. I burnt the sausages, set the smoke alarm off and dropped beans everywhere. Spent the rest of the time cleaning, which wasn't very cheery, but ended up going to the local cafe to save the day.
It's Mark from Take That.
Yeah.
You can submit your campervan confession to us. We'd love to hear them. mhmp.info/Ask Matt. You can record it or you can fill in the form and we'll read it for you. And remember, you can get 15% off your insurance with Ripe by clicking the link in this episode description.
It's the Motorhome Matt podcast with me, Keith Gooden.
And me, Motorhome Matt.
It's a questions and answers episode today. All your questions and the answers from Motorhome Matt, for he is the expert. If he doesn't know, he'll ask somebody who does. We're back in Cardiff with Steve G. We only use our onboard toilet, not the site facilities, and go away about 70 days a year. The cassette is emptied every day just in case. How often would you recommend changing the lip seal? I do use the Thetford seal spray about every 7 days of use, or if the van has been stood for a few weeks. Look forward to hearing your answer on a YouTube video or on audio as well, Spotify or Apple. P.S. should give Keith some material to work with. Well, yes. You know, when it all comes down to it, you know, you're sitting on a bucket, aren't you, really?
It's more the fact he's talking about toilets and lips.
Yeah.
Getting a good seal on his lips.
Yeah, I wonder why he won't use the other toilets, to be honest with you.
Well, the campsite toilet?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a very valid point. Maybe he's not on a campsite.
Yeah, maybe not.
Didn't say, did he? I have to say, Steve, that is one seriously well cared for cassette. I think if you're emptying it every day and lubricating the lip seal every 7 days, you're not going to have a problem with your cassette at all.
No.
I think when it leaks is probably the answer. Our old cassette was some years old, and it did start to leak around the bond halfway, around it, and it was seeping out. So we did replace the cassette. But yeah, that is a brilliant example of how to care for a toilet cassette. I would suggest as well, if you're using something like Solbio, the inside will stay unbelievably clean. We can't get over how clean our cassette was, even though it was leaking. So we do continue to use it. We love it.
Okay, let's hear from Just Pete.
Hi Matt, first time buyers of a motorhome. Our budget is about 20k. Thinking of buying the van conversion like a Fiat Trigano Tribute on a 650, but obviously our budget's only going to stretch so far, probably maximum 2009. What we're worried about is, will that age be structurally safe, do you think? I mean, do we expect a lot of rot or anything like that on something of that age? And could we actually get something like that for 20k? Thanks. Pete from Kent.
Ah, he's from Kent.
Yeah, he snuck it in at the end. Well done, Pete.
He did. I was gonna say, sounds Kentish to me.
Yeah.
Okay, have you got an answer for Pete?
So yeah, I'd say a Tribute is a great solution for your budget. I would be checking for rust underneath. At this age, they can be very prone to that on the chassis rails. I would also be looking for service history. Has it got some? When was it last serviced? Both engine, chassis and habitation. Cam belt, when was that last changed? How many miles ago? Has it ever had a cam belt? If not, then it definitely would need one based on age. I would consider an AA or maybe an RAC inspection or getting a local garage to do it for you. I was recently misinterpreted as saying that AA inspections were a waste of time and money. I didn't say that. It was the AA patrolman said the inspection he was doing was a waste of our customers' money, as the van was only 5 years old. It had a massive service history and only done 14,000 miles. So in that scenario, the AA guy was saying this is pointless. I don't need to be doing this. Something that's 20 years old with much higher mileage it probably is definitely worthwhile. And also how many owners it had. If it's had 25 owners, probably best avoided. You're probably going to find it's had 7 or 8. That's perfectly reasonable. So yeah, good luck. I hope you find one. Let me know what you buy. It's time for a brand new feature here on the Motorhome Matt podcast. Every month we will be featuring a statement about motorhome finance and finding out if it's fact or fiction. This is all brought to you by motorhome.finance, and I'm delighted to welcome Steve Blake into the studio. Hi, Steve.
Hi, Matt. How you doing?
Very well. Yeah, welcome back to the studio. It's great to be working with you guys at motorhome.finance on this. So this month, our first statement, Steve, and you're going to tell me, is this fact or fiction?
Mm-hmm.
There are strict limits on how old a vehicle can be when using finance. Fact or fiction?
Well, it's a fact that there are limits, but the limits are far more generous than a lot of people might think. It's commonplace now that a vehicle can be up to 20 years old at the end of the term.
Wow.
We actually have one funder that will fund vehicles up to a maximum of 25 years at the end of the finance term as well. So what that means in effect is you can finance a motorhome or campervan that is currently 15 years old over a 10-year finance term, which means the monthly payments can be very affordable, and gives people the opportunity to fund vehicles that they may see online or at dealerships that have a bit more age on them.
And of course it opens up, exactly, the whole plethora of vehicles that can now be funded by finance that are much older.
Absolutely right. So yes, there are rules, but very generous ones, and these end of term periods are much longer than they used to be.
And it's fair to say that it used to be up to 10 years old, didn't it, for a long time?
Yes, it did, but I think because of the screen prices of motorhomes now and older vehicles retaining their value, if you could only fund a 5-year-old motorhome on a 5-year finance term, a motorhome that's £70,000-80,000, the monthly payment is just going to be unaffordable or unmanageable. So we have a lot more flexibility now than we used to.
There we are, so making motorhomes ever more affordable. Thank you, that's great. So to discover how you can finance your future dream motorhome, head to mhmp.info/finance. Steve from motorhome.finance, thanks very much.
Thank you, Matt.
It's the Motorhome Matt podcast with me, Keith Gooden.
And me, Motorhome Matt.
It's our questions and answers episode. In this month, you ask questions and Motorhome Matt gives you the answers. If he doesn't know, he'll ask somebody who does. Forgive me, David, if I mispronounce your surname. It's either Coftree or Cowtree. So David in Evesham, your question is, hi Matt, we've just bought our first motorhome, a new Malibu i430 on the Fiat chassis.
Lovely.
My question is, I'm trying to source mirror protectors for the coach-style mirrors, but I'm hitting a dead end. I've tried Milenko, who can't help. Google doesn't seem to have an answer. Can you help, please?
I wish I could. So this is an A-class, so it looks like a coach, if you know what I mean, and it has these drop-down mirrors. I'm afraid nobody makes them. To my knowledge,
Really?
Nobody makes them. There are some out there for Pilot motorhomes, which will undoubtedly be a different shape, but there are only a few manufacturers of mirror covers, and these impact the mirror in protection. And on A-class, that's really, really important that you protect them. But the problem is because there are so few sold that manufacturing them, the costs of making that mould is so great that they're just not viable. So to my knowledge, David, I'm afraid I don't know anyone that makes them.
This is the opportunity for somebody with a 3D printing business.
I think that is the answer, and we're seeing more and more of these. At the recent Newark show, there's an exhibitor there who is a 3D printer selling dinosaurs and strange things they've 3D printed. Really colourful and really well made as well. Whether they would step into doing mirror covers, I don't know. I can ask them.
You know what the most numerous fossil is?
Numerous fossil?
We're talking of dinosaurs.
No.
Coprolite. You know what that is?
No.
Dinosaur poo. It's true. It's absolutely true.
I've got visions of you with your hammer and chisel on the beach.
I did buy one for my son years ago.
Down near Durdle Door with our questionnaires moaning about his campsite and he can't get on it. Maybe he could join you with a hammer and chisel and go and find some dinosaur poo.
Steve Hewson's in Ilminster. Hi, Matt. Thanks for your recent reply to my voice note regarding what to expect in terms of a handover.
Aha.
Your advice to set expectations with the dealer was spot on. I'd done a lot of research about the product, so I was able to be clear with the dealer what I needed more detail on. So what's he talking about with the handover?
So, Steve questioned what should my expectation be when I go for the handover.
When he buys the motorhome?
Yeah, when he picks it up, and
Right.
what things should he look for, and what should he ask the dealer?
Well, he says it went well, and he's delighted with the product, a Bailey Endeavour B65, I believe.
Yeah,
I've picked
conversion.
up so much useful information from the podcast that's helped inform our choices of vehicle and some of the ancillaries we did. And in some cases didn't need. Great work. Many thanks indeed.
You're very welcome, Steve. Thanks so much for the question. Often with the audio ones particularly, and the written ones, if I can see that it's very timely that you're about to do something and you've got a question about it, I will try and respond immediately rather than wait for your question to go in a podcast, because that could be some weeks later. So on this occasion, I was able to do that. So Steve, delighted I was able to help. Hope you're enjoying the motorhome and you managed to video some of the handover, because that's a really good aid memoir when you're away in it. So how exactly does this heating work? And when the dealer is handing it over, just film them doing it. They won't mind at all. They'll be used to it.
Yeah, and when it comes to handovers, of course, people can always drop in and ask you questions in person to the branches of that leisure shop, can't they? There's one in Hewish and one down at Chelston.
At Wellington, Junction 21 and Junction 26. It's probably worth calling ahead to make sure I'm here or someone's here. But yeah, if you've got a query, please send it to me. And if I can help, I will. I may be able to signpost you to a solution as well. Just head to mhmp.info/ask Matt. You can record it on the little orange button. Please tell us where in the world you are, or fill in the form and we'll read it for you.
And please leave us a review if you're enjoying the podcast. mhmp.info/review, mhmp.info/review.
And remember, if you're listening, please follow on your favourite podcast app. And a huge number of you watching on YouTube are not subscribed. So would you click subscribe? It really helps the algorithm, and click that little bell as well.